afternoon and welcome to our broadcast. Make a difference in your community by supporting the IRS VITA program, hosted by the National Credit Union Administration. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tammy Corbin. I serve as Financial Literacy and Outreach Analyst in the NCUA's Office of Consumer Financial Protection, and I'll be your moderator today. Next slide, please. First, let's cover some administrative announcements and technical tips. All attendees will be in listen-only mode. If your sound is too low, check to make sure your volume is turned all the way up on your computer. And if that doesn't work, you may need to plug in external speakers. You can submit questions at any time using the Q&A feature in your WebEx console, and we'll take questions at the end if time permits. To access closed captioning, please click the CC button located at the bottom left corner of your screen. And finally, this webinar will be recorded for on-demand viewing on NCUA's YouTube channel. Next slide, please. Thank you. So please allow me to read this disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed today are those of the presenters and do not reflect the official views of, nor should be considered an endorsement by, the Board of Directors, management, or staff of the National Credit Union Administration. Next slide, please. Before we begin, I'm honored to welcome and introduce the NCUA's Vice Chairman, Kyle Hauptman, for opening remarks. Sir?
Thank you. Good to be here. Pleasure to welcome you to the webinar. Today, we're going to explore how credit unions can support and benefit from supporting the IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. It's called VITA, V-I-T-A. The VITA program is an impactful initiative that offers free tax help to people who generally make under $60K a year, folks with disabilities, elderly, limited English speaking abilities. By extending your support as credit unions, you have the power to make a significant difference in the lives of those who need it most. One of the primary reasons credit unions should consider supporting the VITA program is that it provides an opportunity to improve the financial well-being of credit union members and consumers at large. Through VITA, individuals can get the tax credits and the refunds they are entitled to, and folks can get that cash earlier. Money now is always better than money later, and VITA helps make that happen. VITA also helps alleviate the financial burden for someone who is going to pay for tax preparation. I'd also add that by filing quickly and early with VITA, you update your mailing address with the IRS. Why do I say this? Because the IRS still communicates, right or wrong, by paper. I personally have had to pay a late payment because I moved and I never told the IRS my updated address, and they were sending stuff to the old address. That's how it is. It's important that you update your address as quickly as possible with the IRS, because if they want to communicate with you for any reason, they're going to do it via paper mail. This was an issue back with the stimulus payments in 2020. The reason they used paper mail and paper checks for those stimulus payments for a lot of people was because their addresses weren't updated with the IRS. Hence, they got that money later, or maybe even not at all. Additionally, by participating in the VITA program, credit unions can strengthen their relationships with their community. By engaging and supporting those in need, you showcase your commitment to social responsibility and to community development. You attract new members, those that align with your mission. Today, we're going to hear a presentation from the IRS that outlines the numerous ways credit unions can get involved with VITA. Then we'll have a panel discussion with credit unions that are currently participating with the VITA program. They'll delve into the innovative ways credit unions are making a difference, success stories that have emerged, and opportunities for collaboration. As you listen to the webinar, I encourage each of you to consider how your credit union can support the VITA program. Together, we can pave the way for a future where every individual, regardless of their finances, has access to financial resources and the support they need. Thank you for joining us today. Let's embark on this journey: discovery, collaboration, inspiration. Tammy, back to you. Might be on mute, Tammy.
I need your t-shirt. You're on mute. Thank you. So thanks for your comments and thanks for being here with us today. We appreciate Exactly. We appreciate it. So Franz, if you could switch to the next slide, please. Next, we'll hear opening comments from Director David Alito with the IRS Office of Stakeholder Partnerships, Education, and Communication, also known as SPEC. David, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tammy. It's so wonderful to be with all of you here today. As you heard, I'm David Alito. I'm the director of SPEC here in Atlanta. And before I say a few words, I really do want to acknowledge the opening comments by NCUA Vice Chairman Kyle Hauptman that says, although we represent different agencies, we share a mission to educate and protect our consumers. And in IRS, we like to say that SPEC is a cause, not a program. And first, I always want to thank all of you for the wonderful work that you already do and for attending for today's webinar. In our SPEC and VITA programs of voluntary income tax assistance, we prepared over 2.5 million federal returns this year. And if you look at the average cost of tax preparation, of course it varies, but it averages around $200. And with 2.5 million returns, that's close to 500 million that can stay in the taxpayer's pocket and be spent in their communities. And that's not even counting the refunds. Through May of this year in 2023, the average individual refund was about $2,800. So again, it's more money that stays in the communities and stays to help benefit the taxpayers. And if they set up a direct deposit, it's even safer and quicker to get their refund. And we hope it encourages savings. Our VITA and TCE programs, which is tax counseling for the elderly, help millions of low to moderate individuals and families. They get top quality tax preparation at no cost. So it's a free and accurate return. And we try to each year, along with you, try to connect taxpayers to eligible credits they deserve, raise awareness to other beneficial partners and programs available in the community. And we have IRS, what we call relationship managers that are available for consultation and support in developing our VITA partnerships. As a VITA partner, as a VITA volunteer, you make an enormous contribution and difference in somebody's life, and of course their family's life. And we find that tends to just positively impact generations down the road. We have numerous success stories of these credits being just life-changing for people that come in. And it all starts with you. I love what Vice Chairman Hauptman said about credit unions being champions of financial inclusion and community empowerment, and that is absolutely so true. When people are overwhelmed, when they're confused, or when they just need a hug, it may shock you to learn that IRS is not the first agency they might think of, but they think of you. You're the part of their communities. Credit unions are a part of their communities that they see, the people that serve them on a daily basis, the people that they're familiar with and have grown to trust and rely on, and organizations who help educate them so they can avoid the fraudsters and the scamsters that are out there seeking to take advantage of them. By partnering with your organization and the various credit union organizations that you already have those relationships in the community, IRS can help serve the consumers and the taxpayers through you because you have those relationships and you have trust. And service is in our name. So we always look forward to servicing not only the partnerships we have, but hopefully to grow VITA and SPEC. We are so thrilled that you are interested to hear more about it today and just thrilled to be here and help you serve the communities. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Tammy.
David, thank you. Thanks for joining us. And we're grateful to have the partnership of the IRS SPEC team. So thank you for being here today. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now I'd like to welcome our guest speaker, Roland Tate. Roland is a 38-year IRS veteran. You heard that right, 38 years. He's a senior tax analyst, and he is the NCUA's SPEC relationship manager. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome, Roland. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tammy. Let's just jump right into it. Next slide, please. Chairman Hoffman and David Alito, they touched on this I want to cover this slide quickly, but I want to emphasize a couple of points here. This is from the Compliance Data Warehouse for 2020. There were 97 million individuals with adjusted gross income of 56,000 or less. And that's typically the VITA audience. And we'll talk about VITA and all of that. 53 million of them, they prepared their own return. That's good. But about 42 million paid for this assistance. And David touched on the average dollar, how much it costs, depending on your geographical location. And then out of the 97 million individuals who are VITA eligible in that sweet spot, only 2%, let me say that again, 2% took advantage of the TCE VITA program. So you see, there's a lot of room, a lot of opportunity for growth there. So I just want you to keep those two numbers in mind. 97 million individuals who are VITA eligible, 44% of them went to a paid preparer, and only about 2% took advantage of the IRS VITA TCE program. Next slide, please. Next, all right. So this is who we are. We're wage and investment. I don't want to take a lot of time on this slide. Stakeholder partnership, education, and communications, and outreach. This is the arm of the IRS where the VITA TCE program is operated from. SPEC, you will hear that term, and we try to stay away from the acronyms on presentation, but I may say SPEC, but that's who it is: stakeholder partnership, education, and communication. We partner with community-based organizations to gain access to provide service to lower income, elderly, disabled, Native American, non-English speaking and rural populations. So that's our target audience. And as I mentioned, the VITA and the TCE programs are managed through the SPEC organization. Next slide, please. Our mission is simply to assist, this is SPEC's mission, to assist taxpayers in satisfying their tax responsibilities by building and maintaining partnership with key stakeholders seeking to create a shared value by informing, educating, and communicating with our shared customers. Next slide. Our business model. The business model is a leverage-based model. If you notice to the right, tax education, tax preparation, financial education, and we're not going to get into the financial education during this presentation. Tax preparation services, there's facilitated self-assisted that we'll talk about a little later. The VITA TCE is the center, and then there's the virtual VITA TCE, which we will talk a little bit later. Next slide, please. Stats. Again, I want you to consider this metric. Now, this data is coming from TaxSlayer. TaxSlayer is the software, the main software. We use a couple other software, but this is the main software that our partners use. And this is as of July 31st, 2023. Through our traditional VITA TCE program, and we'll talk about that a little later, there were, I think David mentioned it, there were 2.2 million returns prepared through July 31st, 2,244,000. Directly, out of those returns, 1.6 million were directly deposited, which was 71%. That leaves about 29% of those who filed the tax returns did not receive direct deposit for whatever reason. We cannot say that they were unbanked. They may have been underbanked. but there are 29% out there for whatever reason did not choose direct deposit. But the key data here is out of 2.2 million returns that were prepared through the VITA TCE program, 314,000 were earned income tax credit, 14%. So that's saying that those who came to the VITA site, the ones who we really are targeting are not coming. 14% of the EITC returns went through VITA for out of that 2.2 million. So we would like to get that number up because those are the individuals who are, if they're the other 86%, if only 14% through that 202 million rather, and only 14% of those were EITC, then we need to drive more EITC eligible taxpayers to the VITA program. And to David's point and to Chairman Hoffman's point, it saves them money so they do not have to go to a paid preparer who in most cases is going to charge what we call a rapid anticipated loan, or refund anticipated loan rather, or refund anticipated check. And those products that takes more of their refund. And then in our facilitated self-assistant, the self-help program, those are the ones where you go into the kiosk, and we'll talk about those. 68,000 taxpayers took advantage of that. 86% of those use direct deposit. But again, out of the 68,000 that prepared the return themselves, only 20% were EITC eligible or EITC returns. So we would love to get that number up so more taxpayers who are receiving the earned income tax credit would come to our VITA TCE sites. Next slide. VITA delivery models. So let's talk about, we talked about VITA. What does it look like at a VITA site? What are the options? For a long time, I say up to about 2014, 2013, it was the traditional model, which is intense, where you would go in one-on-one, someone would sit down and another person would sit down and they would prepare the return. And that option is still out there. It's the VITA, it's traditional, one-on-one, in-person, volunteer assistance. And we have the second model is the facilitated self-assistant. And you may hear the term FSA, self-prep with help. And there are 4 subtypes under that FSA model. Fusion, it combines traditional with self-help. Basically, if you have a traditional site, you can have a traditional site, and you can also have an opportunity for taxpayers to come in and file their own return. You have to have kiosks, and you have to have someone certified, and we'll talk about certification a little later. Then there's the standalone model, where there's a kiosk, and again, you'll need to have someone certified there. There's a guided, this is new, guided self-assistant model, and it requires a computer lab, a VITA certified person, an IRS live virtual guide, and video conference capability where you could follow along as someone literally walk you through prepare and return. And on this model, you could prepare 50, 75, 100 returns at the same time because they're going to follow along as the certified person walk them through the return. And finally, the remote the remote model is when you would have you would prepare the return using the intranet or the internet. Now that option is limited. It's limited to our free file partners only, because we cannot put your put the URL out on a remote link. TaxSlayer won't do that. But we'll talk about that model if a credit union is interested in that, and we'll give you more details on that one. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, I just want to compare and contrast the traditional and the facilitated self-assisted. If you notice, the first four are the same. You'll need to partner with your regional spec office, and you can get that information at the end of this. If you're interested, I'll have my contact information at the end of the slide. You'll reach out to me and I'll refer you to who your local spec person is. Office space with internet, that's traditional, or FSA. You're going to need computers. We have some, but we prefer that you use your own computers. Pre-tax software link. There's never a cost with VITA TCE, never, to use the software. We will make sure that your site has that. Even if you're going to use partner with our free file partners, that URL is free as well. Now, with the traditional model, you would need what we call an electronic file and identification number, an EFIN. And that, again, we won't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but that allows you to transmit the return. And again, if you're interested in the traditional model, we'll make sure that the local spec person will give you all the details on that one. Staff, if you're having a traditional model, it takes a little bit more. Site coordinator, you need to have someone prepare the returns. Quality reviewer is a must. Our returns must be accurate. And again, the local person will explain the quality reviewer role. If you're going to use the FSA model, again, you have to have someone certified, and you have to have someone to schedule the opportunity to schedule when the site is open. Next slide, please. Training. We talked about certification. I mentioned that a couple of times. All volunteers, tax preparer, must complete Link and Learn Taxes, and you can find that on irs.gov. Volunteers, you must complete basic or advanced module, and you must pass with a minimum score of 80%. Certification, as long as you stay within your certification, it covers you. But if you get outside of what you're certified to do, then there could be some issues. But you have to stay within your scope, within your certification. Certification and training, this is subjective, but generally it takes 36, 40 hours, depending on your level and which module you take, basic or advanced. Then there are a couple other modules, military, there's foreign student. So there's a couple of other things that you could take, but it's all open book. And all volunteers, regardless of if you're a greeter, you're a screener, you must complete the code of conduct module. All right, next slide, please. Now, benefits of partnering with SPEC. Now, this is what we see as a benefit. You will receive free income tax preparation software, and I mentioned that earlier. And you will get support from a dedicated relationship manager. Someone in your local area will be assigned to work with you to make sure that you get off the ground. You'll receive outreach and education to assist NCUA members with understanding and meeting their income tax obligations. And Chairman Hoffman talked about the what happened and the stimulus a few years back. And our partners, we made sure that as we receive the information, we let them know, hey, this is what's going on here. This is what you need to do. And if you don't have an address, then you're gonna probably get a paper check, as he mentioned. So we will let our partners know that as we receive it as well. You're gonna receive income tax return totals. The scorecard that I talked about, You would get that on a weekly basis, or we'll show you how to access it so you'll understand, hey, this is the production that we're doing. And if someone wants to know the impact, we can show you how many returns were prepared, the type of returns were prepared. All that information is available. And you can attend our SPEC Partner webinar. And we have partners webinar monthly. Other partners are on, or you could come on and tell us what you are doing. And it may not occur monthly, but generally it occurs monthly or every other month. But we would make sure that you know when these webinars are going to occur. Next slide, please. Get involved, okay? Contact your local SPEC partner. And again, the initial contact would be with me, and then I will make sure that you know who your local person is. You can find a local VITA TCE site that you can support. You can share information about VITA with your members, posters, flyers, messages on statements. You can encourage your employees to serve as VITA volunteers. Even if your credit union cannot host a site, maybe you can encourage your members to go to a site. And again, if you want to know where the sites are, we have a locator on irs.gov. But before that, if you know you want to volunteer, then we'll need to let the site coordinator, the site manager know that, I have a couple of my employees who would like to participate in VITA. So we'll make sure they get certified, and all of that needs to be done, we say around November, no later than December. And so we can let the site know that, hey, these individuals would like to volunteer at your site. Provide TCE, VITA TCE opportunity at your local credit union. So those are ways to get involved. Next slide. Okay. So if you're interested, now that was a quick, high level, just hit on some of the high points about the VITA TCE program. If you're interested, you want more information, hey, we want a site, we want to do this, we want a traditional site, or we want to have a standalone, we want to have a fusion, or we're interested in this guided model where I think I can get 50 to 100 people in a room and you can walk us through and we'll prepare our own returns. We can do that for you. Contact me. Let me know if either of these models work, or you have employees that what you would like for them to volunteer, but you don't know where the closest site is. Let me know, reach out to me, and I will connect you with your local SPEC person, and then they will give you more information. All right, Tammy, it's back to you.
Unmute, don't forget. So Roland, thank you for that great information. The overview that you gave today really is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many different ways that credit unions can get involved in the VITA program. And, no matter how big or how small, your engagement matters. I'll reiterate what we've heard from all of our speakers so far is that we can help close the gap in how many people have access to VITA. And if your credit union doesn't have the bandwidth for a traditional site or even a kiosk, that's okay. So please, if you have any questions, reach out directly to Roland, make a note of this email address. We'll send it out as well in the post-webinar recap. I'll also take this opportunity to mention that these slides are available for download here in your WebEx console, but we will send them out after as well. The final thing that I want to share is when Roland connects you to a spec relationship manager. And again, this is stakeholder partnerships, education, and communication. This is what they do. They can help you understand, what your resources are, what you're capable of delivering and sustaining, and they can help you put together a, curated plan of engagement for VITA in your community. So I encourage you, please contact Rollin with any questions and to get connected with your regional spec partner so you can begin planning your VITA engagement for 2024. Rollin, thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Next slide, please. And now we are going to begin our panel discussion. It's my pleasure to welcome Joetta Heck, who's the manager at Kemba Charleston Federal Credit Union in San Antonio, Texas. I'm sorry, Kemba Charleston Federal Credit Union in Dunbar, West Virginia. Juan Garcia is operations manager at Select Federal Credit Union in San Antonio, Texas. And Patty Beal is VP of Marketing and Business Development at New Horizons Federal Credit Union in Mobile, Alabama. Thank you all for joining us today. And Franz, if you'll go ahead and pull the slides down, we'll get started with our panel discussion. And Juan, let's start with you. Okay, so how did your credit union first become involved with VITA, and what motivated you to participate?
So thank you so much, Tammy. So our credit union here in San Antonio has been always been an advocate of VITA prior to us becoming a site. So for the last 3 to 5 years, it's always been on our to-do list to become a VITA site, just because we've seen our membership affected by these rapid tax preparers, which again, it is an option for someone to go there. But what we were seeing was our members were being charged way more than they needed to in regards to the fee for preparing their taxes. And so that was one of the biggest things that we were always wanting to provide that benefit to our membership, just because we saw how much members were spending for these rapid refunds. And also bringing those checks in at the time. I know a lot of it is direct deposit now, but at those times, members were still bringing in those checks, which were still most of the times required a hold just because of the amounts that were being returned. So they were still not getting access to those funds immediately, on top of getting charged a high dollar amount to get their taxes prepared. So those were one of the things that we that kept us motivated in wanting to become a VITA site for that time frame. So we are now in our third tax season, and so it's gaining some momentum. So we're excited to now be a VITA site.
Awesome. Thank you, Juan. And let's go ahead and hear from Joetta and Patty on this one as well.
Yeah, so back in 2008 is when we started our journey with VITA. We had basically started because of something very similar to this. It wasn't a Zoom, but it was information sent out by NCUA asking the credit unions to get involved. We too saw that a lot of our members were going to the pay sites and really jumping on the bandwagon of getting those done early and paying those high fees. We've been going since 2008, and we've really seen ours, Juan just mentioned, that momentum. It will continue to gain momentum, Juan, it really will. But we just saw that it was a natural fit for credit unions. The people helping people aspect appealed to us, and we've been going at it since 2008.
Nice. Thank you for that. Patty? You're muted.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, in the intro slide, it said New Horizons Federal Credit Union. We're just New Horizons Credit Union, state chartered, but just to address that. But New Horizons actually had the VITA program in place when I came to this credit union. I started in 2016 here, been with 2 other credit unions prior to that. But when I was talking to our VITA rep, Brad Martin, I do want to give him a shout out because he's incredible to work with. We were doing some research and we think we traced it back to around 2011. So almost 12 years with the program. And from what we can gather, it's either through a connection with the United Way office here in Mobile, Alabama, or actually through another program, which is also a financial literacy awareness program called Bank on South Alabama. And as part of the credit union and community bank movement to build awareness for the underserved, to know where to go to get free and or low cost financial services. So we think it's one of those 2 avenues, either United Way or Bank on South Alabama. But either case, we've been with the program over 12 years. It's a perfect fit. Credit unions are all about people helping people, and that's what we continue to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. Appreciate that. So, Joanna, can you tell us what impact has your credit union's participation in VITA had on your community and the individuals that you serve?
Well, in West Virginia, especially, there is a special tax credit that senior citizens can get, but they have to almost pretty much file their taxes in order to get that. So we serve a lot. I would say probably 50% of the people in the community that come to us are senior citizens or on disability, and they come to file those types of credits. It is critical to them. We see many taxpayers that over the years have left those funds on the table because they didn't want to pay to have those taxes prepared. So we have actually been able to go back several years and get those done for those senior citizens and the disabled especially. But ours has grown. We're a very small credit union, but we are we prepare the returns. We're one of the original type sites, just a traditional site, and you really meet so many people out in the community, and you see how they struggle, and to be able to allow them to come in and get this done at no cost. That's why the momentum builds, as Juan was talking about, because they find out you're here and they're just desperate. But someone had alluded to the cost, and it depends on the area, but I think our average here for just a basic return is about $220. Well, that would mean just our little small credit union last year put over $132,000 back into the community in savings, not to mention, credits that they had no idea, and had they done them themselves, they probably would have missed also coming back in. And really, since COVID, it's even more critical. It really has been even more critical with some of the changes to the tax laws that gave them some relief funds and things. So it's a monetary impact, but it's also just really getting to know your community and helping in every way.
Agreed. Thank you. I love to hear that, and you're right. David mentioned it at the top of the webinar as well. You're in the community. Your members trust you. You're building trust in the community as you do that. And for those folks who haven't filed or don't file because they don't want to pay, that's the only way to get access to a tax credit, is to file taxes. So thank you for mentioning that. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about, everything's not always easy, right? We've talked about the good things, the momentum, the way that you're reaching people, but let's talk about the challenges and obstacles that you've encountered when participating in VITA and how you've overcome them. So Juan, you want to start us off with that one?
Sure. So our biggest thing was more so in regards to the uncertainty of what is required when it comes to when it came to launching the program, and then just the uncertainty of the recruitment process. And so it was more the behind the scenes part of it for us, really, when it came to just trying to figure out what was the best way to get this launched. And so I think that took a big part of the time. So every year we pretty much just put it off. So our biggest challenge was, again, just the fear of the unknown. But once we got things going, the recruiting part, the pretty much the hand holding from the VITA program itself, the folks that we've worked with pretty much assured us that everything would be okay, and they would be there with us pretty much every step of the way, and helping of the training, the recruitment. So that right there really made the transition, or not so much the transition, but just the opportunity to get this finally launched very smooth. So that was really our main challenge, was just how we were going to go about recruiting our volunteers, as we didn't want to we're a small group in regards to our staff, so we didn't want to put that on our staff in regards to preparing tax returns as well, and then just also the liability piece that kind of comes with it, although it's really not that difficult, but that was our main thing when it came down to launching the program.
Awesome, thank you. Because getting volunteers, that's got to be such a challenge. So, and I don't mean to steal your thunder. So, Patty and Joanna, I'd love to hear from you all as well on challenges and how you've overcome them.
Okay. Well, now for our credit union, how we participate, we offer office space. We have VITA tax preparators come to our office and actually do the tax preparation there. So really our biggest obstacle when I got here was that, well, they're bringing in these people, they're walking in our doors and they're taking up lobby seats, and our member service reps don't know who's a member and it just required a lot of coordination. And so the way we kind of resolved that was we got with our VITA rep, and again, just a shout out to him, who was very open to new ideas, and said, can we do this by appointment only? And can we do this where it's certain days of the week that we assign these appointments? And that way we can have somebody ready to welcome the people, understand who goes where. And so we don't have this lobby backup or a perception that we're not serving our members because we have this big wait. So all those logistics had to come in place, and it required communication with our VITA rep, and understanding how the flow was going to be. We actually were able to get some signage in that worked a little bit better. And so it resolved itself, but those are the things you need to look at, because even something as simple as just offering office space, you have to have some logistics with that, because you still want to be able to serve everybody that's coming in, make sure everybody's waited on timely, and there's not a backup, even on the VITA part. They don't want to have just people waiting and waiting and waiting. So that was the biggest obstacle. And oddly enough, once that was resolved, when COVID struck, we didn't have an issue. We had a plan already in action. So our VITA services here in Mobile were able to continue almost uninterrupted, because we had the appointment process. We're able to stagger things. We were able to keep things safe. And so it works it works great. So we have no problem with it now.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Joetta, before I turn to you, I do just want to quickly call out the fact that I'm sure you all have got this, but so Juan in San Antonio, they've not been doing this for a very long time, right? Joetta has been doing this for a minute. And both of them run traditional sites. The difference with Patty and why I wanted to have her share her story is they give space, right? So none of the staff at the credit union is preparing taxes, but they give the gift of space to a community coalition who is preparing taxes. And I spoke with them, and it is a game changer to have legitimate office space with parking, the connectivity. So I just wanted to make sure I called that to your attention as one of the many ways. You don't have to use your small staff to be a traditional VITA site. There are other options, and the gift of your space is one of those. So thank you for calling that out. And now, Joetta, let's hear from you.
Okay, so we have learned a lot since 2008. I think our biggest roadblock is definitely staff size. Of my staff, there are really only 3 of us that prepare and work the program. And then I have partnered with, I have a board member who comes and she does some processing and some reviews. And then I also partnered with a local children's therapy clinic. The director there, she used to have a VITA site and unfortunately had to close her site. So she came over and she now works with me. The very first year we did it, we did it like you were talking about, Patty, where you just walked in. That definitely did not work for us here with a small staff. And so we very quickly, the next year, changed it to appointment only. And then we had certain times and days and all that. VITA hit, we were not ready. We actually, all that news broke on a Saturday while we're closed on Saturday, but we did taxes all day on Saturdays. We were here doing taxes on Saturdays when all that news broke. So very concerned about our credit union and our employees and the community, everybody, at that time. But we were very concerned about the taxes. And of course, the IRS did push that date back, which helped greatly. But we ended up closing our doors to the public for quite some time, waiting on people in the parking lot, those types of things. And so we learned how to turn into a more, we're still a traditional site, but we're kind of a hybrid. So we do drop-offs as well, drop-off taxes as well. And we do that through the drive-through. I'm there on Wednesday evenings before church. I'm there other evenings. I'm there on Saturdays for drop-offs and pickups. And then there's the rest that's back here, and we're just preparing the taxes. So it's definitely going to be critical to have the staff or the volunteers. It doesn't have to be your staff. Ours is not completely our staff. I have, out of the 3 staffers, I'm the only one that prepares. The other 2 just reviews. They don't feel comfortable. They have a little bit of a fear. So they've decided they want to review, which is awesome because you do have to have reviewers. So it works. You're going to learn as you go. I'm sure Juan is feeling the same thing with being there for 3 years. It gets better every year because you learn something new about how to do it better every year. But definitely people, definitely volunteers is the challenge with our size. I have only 8 staffers total. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. We've got a couple more questions, and I see some coming in from the audience. So let's talk about measuring impact. So, one, how do you measure the success or the impact of your credit union's involvement in VITA? Are there specific metrics or indicators you look at?
Ours has just been the just the growth of it, and how much it's taken off within just a short time frame. So each tax season, we get more, we prepare more taxes as the word gets out within the community. So again, one of the things that has helped us as well is just the advertisement that's also shared within the IRS and the VITA piece, where it lists us as an actual site. But really for us, it's just been word of mouth, along with just the amount of refunds we prepare each year. Helps us determine that, you know, it for one, it's the benefit is what it is, and not so much you know, us being in the spotlight type of thing, but it's one of those where each year we gain more community members, and then also our credit union members as well that are taking advantage of the additional benefit.
Thank you. And Patty, did you want to say something quickly on that?
Yeah, so the way we measure it is we work, again, very closely with our VITA tax person that comes into our office to do this. And we have him actually kind of manually tally people as they come in to find out, you know, how many are members, how many are non-members. And that's just really from my personal benefit to understand. And just this past year alone to date, obviously he'll be back in before October to do some late tax filing, but we've had 359 people come in who need to have their taxes done. Of those, 35 were our members. So, you know, yes, that's only 10%, but the other 90% are being exposed to credit union services and what we're all about, and our free direct deposit and our free services. So we have an opportunity to help other people that are non-members, and that's part of the mission too. We also measure our success by just by our employees too. Is it working out? Is the flow good with the VITA services? So we want to make sure that our branches are still able to do what they do with little to no interference from VITA, and it's a very good partnership for us. So get your VITA person to take a tally and do some measurements that way, and that'll help you stay on target. Because if I know I do at least 300 taxes every year, then I'm at least, you know, maintaining. So I don't want to go below that. I want to do more, but we only have one tax person. So.
Thank you. Thank you. So I've got one more question. I just wanted to, Joetta, to give you an opportunity. Is there anything you want to say on success or impact that you measure?
Yeah, we do. We don't really measure it for success or not. I'm like Patty. You know, we shoot for a pretty high number, and we average about 550 to 600 tax returns a year, and of that, I would say 45% of them are our actual members. So we feel really good about the fact that not only are we helping our members, but we're also helping others in the community.
Thank you. All right, last question that I have for you, and then we'll pivot to a few other questions that I see in the queue if we've got time. So, Joetta, what advice would you give to other credit unions or other organizations considering participation in VITA?
Just do it. I would strongly encourage you to do it. It's one of those things we can sit and tell you what the impact has been for us all day long, but until you actually look in those people's eyes and see the desperation and see the joy, you know, that they get. We see, I'm sure Patty and Juan see it too. I mean, we have tears every year. People sitting and just absolutely broken down into tears because we have helped them. And we have several, and I'm sure they do too, that come in and they're only maybe getting a few $100s back, but they were going to have to pay somewhere else and they wouldn't have gotten anything back, or they would have been in the negative, because even the people who get a small amount, they want to file. They want to file their taxes. You know, it's important as an American citizen to file your taxes. And I've had several that they got a small refund, but they would have actually been in the negative had they gone and paid to do those taxes. And like I said, we can sit here and tell you this, but it is such a strong impact for us that we don't want to ever give it up. I can tell you, we have 8 employees is all we have. We're a small credit union, and we've been able to do it and maintain 500 to 600 sets of taxes every year. If we can do it, trust me, it can be done. We have a core conversion in February, but we are still going to do VITA. You know, shortly after that, a few weeks after conversion, we'll be starting our VITA work. That's how important it is to us. So I would just say figure out a way to do it, whether it's to give space like Patty does, which is awesome. You know, you can participate in some things like our local college has an accounting program that a lot of the professors want to see those students out doing this type of work. And we've been able several times to get some students from the college in and get them certified and use them a little bit as well. So there are ways. You just have to be creative and have the desire. And I'll guarantee you that if you do it one year, you will want to continue the program.
Thank you, Joetta. So I am mindful of time. So I'm going to wrap up our panel discussion, and I'm so grateful. Patty, Joetta, and Ron, thanks for being here today. Thanks for sharing your VITA story and for making a difference in your communities through VITA. We appreciate your passion and your commitment and bringing that to the table today. So thank you all. And Franz, if you could bring the slides back up, please. Before I go into the closing slides, I'm going to just answer a couple of questions. I've got Carlene asks, how do you get started? Email Rollin, get connected with your spec relationship manager. That is how to get started. How long does it usually take to get staff certified? So that depends. As a tax preparer, having been a VITA volunteer, it took me about 48 hours to take all the 40 hours to take all the classes and pass the exam for basic, advanced, and military. So it's not an easy lift. Now someone asks, when should I get started? My answer to that is now. That's why we're having this webinar in September, because between now and the holidays is when you're going to source your volunteers, recruit your volunteers, motivate, your staff, the members of the community that you're trying to recruit. You need that time to get your volunteers, train your volunteers, meet with your spec rep to build your customized, personally curated VITA plan. Like that's what they can do for you. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to answer one more question. This recording, we're going to send out a link after the webinar. So once the recording link is live, it will be on NCUA's YouTube channel, but I'll send out a link from our consumer education email address, and that way you'll know how to get me as well. So we are going to wrap it up. I'm going to speed through the last couple of slides. I want to bring your attention to this new page that we have on mycreditunion.gov called Become an IRS Partner to Help in Your Community. Next slide, please. Thank you. On this page, we've consolidated resources that are going to help you maximize your VITA engagement. This includes the NCUA's letter to credit unions, IRS partner links, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's resources for tax preparers. Now, we'll continue to add to this page, so please visit often as you're making your plans for the 2024 filing season. Next slide, please. I also want to showcase the NCUA's newly released Money Basics Guides. These learning tools are fantastic. They can help you at your credit union promote financial literacy, and they're especially relevant during tax season as you encourage your members not only to take advantage of VITA, but to use direct deposit when they file their taxes and to save part of their refund. We also have a new brochure called How to Develop a Financial Education Program at Your Credit Union. So we're happy to share these with you. We want you to use them with your members, with your community members. So please do. Next slide, please. Finally, thank you again for being here today. I know everyone has so many demands on their time, and we're grateful that you've chosen to spend an hour with us today, learning more about the IRS VITA program and the difference that it makes to your members and your communities. As a reminder, we'll send out a webinar web recap with a link to the recording, as well as this contact information for our financial literacy and outreach team and for Roland at the IRS. Finally, I ask that you please take a couple of minutes to complete our post-webinar survey, which you'll receive in your inbox shortly after we conclude the webinar. Please tell us what you want more of and how we can better serve you as you plan your community outreach, including your VITA engagement. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again, and this concludes our broadcast.